A lot of women act like they don't want men to stand up and to them and, say how they feel, but they do.
What you're saying at the surface level is not that you actually are harboring resentment or actually disagree with them or actually have a different thing going on in your head than what you have been projecting. That's the biggest betrayal, because you're gonna lose real quickly the respect that you have, because people look at you and be like, why are you telling me what to do, but you're not doing things? Because immediately that conversation we had with Josh with the conditional love, popped in. But I can rectify that, right? Because because I think a lot of guys will say, well, I want to be unconditionally loving. It's like, I like, this is my woman. You can leave and love her. You can leave her because you love her.
Right.
Right.
I don't think people realize that.
And again, I'm not trying to promote leaving. That's not the point. It's just that you have to have it. She has to look in your eyes and see it within you. If she doesn't see it in you, that you have what it takes to leave if you need to, then she's never going to trust you to lead her, because she knows. And the reason why that a woman can't, and I'm sure you can back this up, is that the reason why a woman can't follow a man that she doesn't see it in his eyes that he could leave is because she knows that whatever direction he's leading, he's influenced. He's not really leading because he's held back by fear. So he's not going to actually make his best decision, right? He's going to do the thing that has the least risk, that prevents him from losing the thing that he wants. And a leader who leads you based on fear is not someone you can trust, right? Just like, when someone has an ulterior motive, right? And it's like, or even when you're someone trying to sell you something, right? And that they're trying to make a quota, or they have some other interest, not your best interest.
Right.
Right. But when someone is like, no, I'm going to make this decision because this is the right decision. It's not because there's some financial loss or gain for me in it. Then you trust them, and then you can follow them.
Right.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the first step.
True.
I think, I'm trying to think what else, like, and I think that encompasses a lot of it.
Taking the responsibilities, right, from her.
Right.
And in that Surrendered Wife, Empowered Wife book, it's the same lady, but different books, but similar concepts. A lot of women struggle with giving men the financial responsibility that they've had.
Right.
I would say that's probably like the main thing that they struggle with the most.
Right.
And a guy has to take over that, and he has to take over making the decisions, and he has to take over, being the leader and the captain of the relationship. And like you said, like considering his wife, but ultimately making the decision, because that's important too. Like, you can't go from people pleaser guy also to dictator guy,
Yeah.
Like,
there's no trust there.
She has to, especially if she's going from masculine to feminine.
Right.
Like, not to take over from the man's side, because we're talking about that right now, but that is also hard in a different way, because it's going from protecting yourself to being vulnerable, which is scary. So you do have to still, while you're manning up and becoming more masculine, you have to still, make her feel considered and connected to you in that intimate and close way, but also while putting your foot down and saying, hey, this is how it's going to be. Because a lot of women act like they don't want men to stand up and to them and, say how they feel, but they do. Because if a man doesn't, they want him to do it in the right way.
Right.
They want him to be a kind guy, but who stands up for things, not an asshole guy. There is a difference. And because if he can't do that, then he can't stand up for you. He can't stand up for anything if he can't do that. Because like you said, he'll just be people pleasing, and then you won't know what he even really wants.
Right.
And then it'll be like, I don't know what to believe. Like, do you actually want this? Or are you just trying to not upset me? Like, would you stand up to this situation if I needed you to? Or am I going to have to do it?
Right.
And so, like, you want to put your foot down and be a masculine man and, set the boundaries and lead the relationship while still being kind. And so a lot of those people pleaser guys too, they do worry about like, well, I'm a nice person and things like that. And you can still be kind and have boundaries and make the decisions and make somebody feel included in those.
Right. And it's more kind to have boundaries because when you don't, you have resentment, and resentment is mean.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a secret kind of mean. It's a like, you know, if you really want to hurt someone's feelings, right? You really want to disturb someone, you let them know that what you're saying at the surface level is not that you actually are harboring resentment or actually disagree with them or actually have a different thing going on in your head than what you have been projecting. That's the biggest betrayal, right? Because you're like, you were agreeing, you were just being nice to me, but you really hated me inside. Like that, you know, that will get someone more than anything else.
They can't trust you.
Right. So that's why that's actually not nice, right?
Right, exactly.
It's way more kind to have boundaries because you're real, you're authentic, right?
Well, and I don't know who said it. It's some sort of like quote, but having boundaries is actually teaching somebody how to love you.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's the opposite. A lot of people think it's like, I'm putting restrictions on this person and I'm supposed to love them unconditionally. And that doesn't feel like unconditional, but it is, because boundaries should be kind when they're being laid out. Like, it's not like, don't do this.
Right.
Like, if you actually know what boundaries are, it's, you know, if you continue to do this, which you can do, it's your choice, I will do this.
Yeah. Boundaries are more like, that's not for me.
Right.
Like, which is not mean.
Right.
It's like, that's not for me. It's not telling you what to do. That's not for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? As a man, as a leader, though, you do have to do some telling of what to do, right? You have to be in charge. You have to, but that's not the same as the boundary part of it. Like that, the leading is saying, this is the direction we're going, right? But also you lead by example. You don't just order people around and say, you do this, you do that, right? Maybe there's a time where that needs to be done because it's a critical situation. Things need to be done, but you cannot operate like that 100% of the time,
right?
Because you're gonna lose real quickly the respect that you have, because people look at you and be like, why are you telling me what to do, but you're not doing things,
right?
You know that, or you know, it's not the way to do it.
Better than